My name is Carly Weston. I'm 37 years old, and the morning my mother-in-law used my husband's bank card for a shopping spree, I was sitting at my desk in our home in Charlotte, North Carolina, trying to convince myself our marriage was still worth saving, when my husband's phone suddenly started blowing up, and the second he answered, his face changed because his mother was standing inside a luxury department store with a cart overflowing with designer bags, electronics, and jewelry, and somehow she had his debit card in her hand. Then I heard her shouting through the phone, demanding that he come fix the problem because the card had been declined. My husband looked straight at me like I had somehow caused it, grabbed his keys, and said, "Carly, what the heck did you do?" I didn't answer because he had no idea what was waiting for him at home. He thought he was rushing back to defend his mother. He had no clue I had spent the previous 48 hours quietly putting something together that would change everything between us. And when he finally opened our front door, he would see exactly why I had stopped begging him to believe me 6 months earlier. I still believed our biggest problem was simply Lorraine, my mother-in-law, being too involved in our marriage. My husband, Grant, had always defended her with the same tired excuse. "She's my mom, Carly. Come on." I tried to understand it until I noticed the first strange charge on our joint account. It was $286 at a boutique in South Park, and neither of us had been there. When I asked Grant about it, he barely looked up from his phone. "Mom probably needed something," he said. I wanted to believe him, but 2 weeks later there was another charge, this time for $419 at a home decor store. Then another for $173 at a salon. Every time, Grant had an explanation ready, and every explanation somehow involved his mother. So I started keeping records without telling him. Dates, amounts, stores, everything. I wasn't trying to spy on my husband. I was trying to prove to myself that I wasn't imagining the pattern. Then one Friday afternoon, I came home early and found my bedroom door slightly open. I knew I had closed it that morning. Nothing looked stolen, but my jewelry box had been moved, and a folder containing our financial documents was sitting crooked on my desk. That was when I realized someone had been inside our house. And they hadn't needed to break in by the time September arrived. I had stopped asking Grant questions and started watching what happened when I wasn't around. Then one Tuesday afternoon, my phone buzzed while I was at work. Our doorbell camera had detected motion. I opened the app expecting a delivery driver, but my stomach dropped when I saw Lorraine walking up our front steps with her purse over one shoulder. She pulled a key from her pocket, unlocked our front door, and walked inside like she owned the place. I called Grant immediately. He answered after several rings, and when I told him what I had seen, he went quiet. Then he said, "She probably just needed something." I stared at the screen in disbelief. "Grant, she's inside our house while we're both at work." He sighed and told me not to make a big deal out of it. That night, I checked the camera history and found 3 more visits I had never known about. Every time, Lorraine stayed between 20 and 40 minutes. Then I checked our bank statements again and noticed something that made my hands go cold. Several withdrawals happened on the exact afternoons she had entered our house. I started connecting everything. The missing money, the secret visits, the financial folder, and the key Grant had promised me he took back weeks earlier. I printed every statement and saved every camera clip to a private drive. But then I discovered something even worse. Lorraine hadn't just been entering our house. She had been checking my personal bank statements, and one of them had been opened before I ever saw it. That was when I realized this wasn't about shopping anymore. She was preparing for something. 2 days later, everything finally exploded. Grant's phone rang while we were eating dinner, and Lorraine was screaming so loudly I could hear her from across the table. She had taken his debit card without asking and gone shopping at a luxury mall in Charlotte, spending more than $2,000 before the bank froze it. Grant jumped up, grabbed his keys, and rushed toward the door. "I have to fix this," he said. I stood there quietly and watched him leave. For the first time, I wasn't scared. I knew exactly what I had to do. When Grant came home, he walked through the front door furious, ready to blame me, just like always. Then he stopped. Our dining table was covered with printed bank statements, camera screenshots, copies of my open mail, and a folder containing every transaction I had tracked for 6 months. In the center was the same red ribbon Key Lorraine had used to enter our house. Grant stared at everything without saying a word. I pressed play on my laptop. He watched his mother unlock our door, enter our home, search through our financial documents, and leave 40 minutes later. Then I showed him the latest bank statement proving she had used his card. His face went pale. Lorraine arrived minutes later, expecting him to defend her. Instead, Grant looked at her and said, "Give me the key, Mom." She froze. For the first time, she had no excuse. I told Grant I loved him, but I couldn't spend another year proving what he already knew. I handed him divorce papers I had prepared that morning. He begged me to stay, promising everything would change. But I had already changed. I walked out with my documents, my savings, and my dignity. Months later, Lorraine repaid every dollar, and Grant started counseling. We never reconciled. I learned something I'll never forget. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't destroying someone. It's finally choosing yourself. If you ever feel like you have to collect evidence just to be believed, maybe the evidence isn't for them. Maybe it's for you, so you finally know when it's time to walk away.